So there's an article in CNBC talked about, it was a bunch of anonymous sources. This was about 10 days ago now, that AI engineers are reporting they're burned out because they're being rushed to execute these rollouts because there's this rat race, as the article called it, to stay competitive. And the big point of this article was that it's all about hype. It's all about the fact that it's about how do you make some news versus how do you actually deliver some value. And they didn't name any specific companies listed, I don't think. But I feel like we saw some of that play out here, right? I think, you know, some of my criticism around ServiceNow is I felt like that's a lot of what we sort of got. I feel like Boomi and Red Hat have done a good job, but frankly, the reason they are refreshing to me is they are the exception, not the rule. I feel like more often than not, what we're seeing out of organizations is a bunch of hand waving, a bunch of, oh, look, we're doing something. You made a comment in our email exchange prepping for this about, you know, can you be competitive if you're just, you know, using an API and attaching to OpenAI's LLM and creating some Gen AI? I think that there's so much of this going on that it's really, really challenging to sort of separate from the wheat from the chaff and figure out exactly what it should be. But for me, I think the big message to a CIO is, you know, buyer beware. Don't be, it's really easy to get sucked up, you know, sucked into all the hype, but it is, I think there's so much smoke and mirrors going on. And not to say the technology is not real, but it's just like, is it, you need to really ask yourself, is this going to help me solve a business problem? And if so, what is that?
Yes, I
So I
really
don't know.
worry that vendors are just spending too much time trying to match functional parity with each other when that is not really the long game right now. Every software vendor looking at generative AI really needs to think about how generative AI actually fits into their solution. And as common sense as that sounds, that's not how a lot of this AI development is happening right now. Everybody is saying, well, if they have some sort of Gen AI supported help desk, then we need to have some sort of Gen AI supported help desk, even if our actual product documentation is so simple that it can still be supported with a basic rules-based help desk. Like all of this common sense stuff that you would think would matter in terms of development is going out the window as everybody's saying, well, if we don't have Gen AI to support every single part of our application, then we're falling behind. And honestly, that is not the case. There are still plenty of applications where the users are fairly niche in number and in skill sets, and they are used to a specific interface that they've used for 20 years. And sometimes that UX is just fine for your basic administrative viewpoint. You don't have to suddenly change this to Gen AI, where honestly, that means a new set of adoption needs to take place and a new set of training needs to take place. And a lot of hours will honestly be killed for these administrators and power users to figure out how to do the exact same things that they've been doing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
And is that value add, and is it in fact faster, and all those things that we've talked a lot about, the ROI, you know, some of the like Microsoft's productivity, you know, based copilots. Is there actually an ROI? Can you actually drive that? One article that we didn't have time to talk about today that we'll maybe talk about next week talked about the fact that we're still incredibly early days in terms of usage
Yes.
around it, right? So it's like we haven't even really gone to that point where we're even seeing how these things are applied yet.